Okay, welcome, Coach Sip,
Thank you.
to my blog. And I was thinking the other day that I've been playing soccer when I was a child, and my shins still have not forgiven me. So, of course, all the soccer fields in Florida are filled with kids these days. Why do you think it's become so popular?
Because I think it's relatively inexpensive and it's not a huge time commitment. The very young players train once a week, and the kids that are more competitive train twice and maybe 3 times a week. We play on weekends, so there's a little bit of travel involved for the kids that are a little bit more serious. But I think the game's popular because there's no prerequisite to participation. You know, with basketball, obviously you have to be a little bit taller. Football, it's they require a certain weight with young players, but if you want to progress with the sport, it's strength, speed, and height sometimes. So with soccer, you don't have to be a certain height, you don't have to be a certain weight, you don't have to run a 40-yard dash in 4.2 or 4.4. So it's a lot easier for a kid that may not be the best athlete to be a very good soccer player, because there are a lot of components to the game that have nothing to do with your genetic predisposition. So if you're an intelligent player, you're very good on the ball, if you make very good decisions, then it's a lot easier for you to be successful. So I think it's why it's become popular. Kids, they don't make a basketball team, they don't make a football team, they don't make a baseball team for one reason or another. They give soccer a try, and it's a lot of exercise, and that's great for kids.
Yes, and you have such passion for this game. I've never seen someone with so much passion.
I do.
It's infectious. So let's get a little bit into your background. You've been playing and you're a coach.
Yeah, I've played
You're
soccer.
the director of soccer coaching?
I'm a director of soccer for Gainesville Soccer Alliance in Gainesville, Florida. And I've been doing this I started actually coaching when I was a freshman in college. I started coaching a high school team there, and I loved coaching because it's fun to see what you share with kids impact their behavior. And not just on the field, but the fact that you share a passion and you can help someone that shares your passion be a better player. I think kids really gravitate to that, and I really enjoyed doing it. I really enjoyed sharing my experience and sharing what I knew with kids that wanted to be better players. The thing about it is that I was 20 or 21 at the time. In retrospect, I probably wasn't a great coach, but I had qualities of a good coach, I think. And that is enthusiasm, willingness to accept that I didn't know everything, and to continue to pursue education so that I was a better teacher of the game. Because being able to play the game doesn't mean that you can teach it. I speak English, I think, fluently, but I don't think I could teach anyone how to speak English. So I always pursued some form of education, and so now I'm an A licensed coach in the United States, so it's the highest license you can get, and I have a FIFA Olympic Solidarity certificate as well, so that's from the governing body of soccer in the world, so I was fortunate enough to be able to do that course. And then, of course, there's no substitute for experience. I've been coaching for 20, 21 years. And you learn a lot through experience, what works, what doesn't work. I've also played, obviously, my whole life. I was fortunate enough to represent Trinidad and Tobago in a Caribbean tournament in 1985, a long time ago. And I played Division I soccer there with a few clubs. And then I was awarded a scholarship to go to school in the United States. And after graduating, I've played a little bit with some semi-professional teams, professional teams,
and today you still play.
I still play today in an adult league, and I coach the club teams at the University of Florida, so I get to play with the guys every night.
Does that make you a better coach, do you think, continuing to play?
No, it just keeps me slim. I get to indulge a little bit of stuff I probably shouldn't be eating, but I do it for exercise and because I love doing it. I think I still enjoy playing more than anything else. And coaching is a way to keep me connected to the game. And I think that's why I love it, because I'm getting older, I'm not going to be playing much longer. And coaching helps me stay connected to the game of soccer.
What's your favorite thing about the game of soccer?
It's a time where you can express yourself. And how well you express yourself is entirely up to you. You can't blame anything else. So you're accountable for how well you do when you play. You can't blame the refs, the opponents, you can't blame your teammates. You know, your performance is up to you. And obviously sometimes, some days are better than others. You know, you play very well some days and you don't. But it's just like life. You have good days and you have bad days. So it teaches you how to get over things. It teaches you how to assess what maybe you've done wrong and correct it. So it teaches a lot of life lessons. You know, discipline. You know, you have to work for what you want.
I agree. I played team sports in school and I loved the camaraderie of it. And I noticed, how would you say immersing themselves, the kids these days, how they immerse themselves in the game of soccer? It's very demanding. Some kids burn out. Can that be prevented?
Yeah, it can be. The problem with youth soccer, I think, is when kids are 6 and 7, we have parents that want them to play like professional players. So they read all this literature and they look at the World Cup or they look at a professional game and they tell a 6-year-old, you see, this is what these guys are doing. But you know, those guys get paid 30,000, 40,000 pounds a week to do that, and they're also adults. So their motor skills are obviously developed cognitively, they're at a different level. So the expectation is unrealistic, and success is equated with winning for people that don't know anything about the game. So the kids start to equate success with winning, and they don't get the fact that as young players there's a lot of development, there's a lot of learning that takes place. It's why a 6-year-old is in preschool or kindergarten. It's not, you know, you don't put a 6-year-old in college and expect them to acclimate. So when you ask a 6-year-old to play like an adult, it's really not making any sense.
So expectations are too high.
Well, I won't say expectation. I think it's naivety of people that actually get into coaching. You know, they want to be the U6 champions, and they want trophies and they want medals, and sometimes it means more to the adults than it does to the kid. The kids want to go to Chuck E. Cheese after they win or lose. They've forgotten about the game an hour later. It's fun for them, and I think we can stop kids from being burnt out if we focus on the development of the player. Because if the game becomes fun, you want to play. And if you want to play, you improve. And if you're having fun, you get better. So if you continue to, you know, if parents or coaches continue to make it about winning, then a kid at 6 years old doesn't want to play anymore when he's 10. Because maybe he's on a bad team. Maybe he's a late bloomer or she's a late bloomer. It takes them a little bit longer. And they think at 10 years old that they're failures because I haven't won anything. And it's not important at all. Winning is important when you get, for me, when you get to college or you're being paid to play. That's when winning means everything. Because the coach's job is then predicated on wins. What are you winning? You know, before that, it's all about fun because you're still an amateur. So you should still be having a good time doing it.
What do you think is the best age group to join a soccer program?
I think first and foremost, the kid has to have an interest in it. And I think at 6 years old, a kid can tell, yeah, I want to try soccer. I have a 5-year-old son, and he says, I want to play tennis. So, you know, we sign him up and we let him play, and he enjoys it. But if he doesn't want to play tennis next month or next year, that's fine with me. If he never wants to touch a soccer ball, it's fine with me. Because I want him to do something that he enjoys as much as I enjoy soccer. And it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the game of soccer.
What should a player or a parent look for in a soccer program?
You want to make sure that if you are joining an organization and it's for recreational purposes only, you know, the YMCA is always fine, you know. don't expect to learn a lot about the game if you're in a recreational organization, because a lot of parents, they haven't played, and they read a couple books. Maybe a few of the diligent parents may take a course or two, so they familiarize themselves with rules. But if you haven't played the game, there are a lot of nuances to the sport that you can't impart. You can't teach a kid. So if your kid is serious about soccer, or you think they have a passion for the game or for some potential, you want to join an organization that is structured in terms of there's a director of coaching that has significant soccer playing and coaching experience. You want the coaching staff to also be licensed, so it shows that they've been taught how to teach young players. It's very important that players are taught by coaches who've played the game at a high level, because kids learn through mimicking, and with young players there's a lot of demonstration that needs to be taking place, and if you've never played, you're painting the wrong picture. So I always tell coaches, if you can't do it, don't. Find a kid in the group that maybe is the best and allow them to paint the picture, because the kids will try to emulate what you're doing, because you're the authority figure and they want to please you, they look up to you. So if you be honest with yourself, if you're not good enough, don't try it. I don't discourage any coach that hasn't played at a high level, because there are obviously some attributes to coaches that may not have been the best players. They may be excellent teachers. And if you're a student of the game and you continue to educate yourself, you'll always be a benefit to young players. So if my son would ever want to play soccer, I would certainly look for an organization that had some type of curriculum in place. And probably I'm being biased because I do this for a living, but there needs to be something in place that, what would you like to accomplish with your son by the time he's 10 years old? What would we like to have accomplished with him by the time he's 12, 14, 16? Because every age group has some demands. A kid should be able to do certain things by a certain age if they want to continue to progress. So they're building blocks, they're fundamental building blocks that have to be put in place, so that by the time a kid's 18, they're a complete player. And when they leave you from the club level, they're still not guaranteed success, because there's a part of the game, a component of the game that's psychological, that you have very little control of. How tough is a kid mentally? How do they deal with adversity? And with my club, at least, a lot of kids are protected from adversity because parents try to fight their battles for them. If they're not playing the position they want to play, or they're not playing as much time as they would like to play, parents get involved right away. And so the kids never take responsibility for the outcome of their soccer success.
And how do you handle that as a coach? Any advice for coaches on how to handle that?
How to handle parents? Mm-hmm. You have to educate them. It's a lot easier said than done, because it's hard to educate someone that thinks they know everything already, and some parents are like that. But most are reasonable, and if you explain to them why you do what you do and the methodology behind it, they listen to you. Which is why it's very important that coaches are educated, because if they're not, they don't know what to say to parents. They get frustrated, they stop coaching, they take it out on the kids. So you have to educate yourself to the point where you can answer questions, as ridiculous as some of the questions are and the expectations are. You have to be able to tell them, no, that's not correct, because this is how it's done and this is why it's done this way, and it's for the long-term benefit of your kid.
Definitely. Finally, you have a website that I think is amazing, even for a soccer novice like me. Your site's ultimatesoccercoaching.com, and it's filled with comprehensive information on the sport as well as detailed coaching tips. It's amazing. Bravo. I think it's a must-view for anyone interested in soccer. So for those who want more, you have developed a coaching product as well. Mm-hmm. What is your product, and where can we find it?
It's an e-book, an electronic book, obviously, and it can be found at ultimatesoccercoaching.com website. And the reason I came up with the product was for probably a lot of the reasons I just gave with this interview. There are a lot of coaches that want to do well, but they don't have the material. They don't have the time to go take a course. because it sometimes requires a weekend or 2 weekends that you need to block out, and there are Friday nights involved, so and it costs money too. The information you'll get here is is thorough, and it really is geared towards coaches that are coaching kids that are from 6, 7, 8 years old all the way up to 14. So there's another product that I'm working on that deals with older, more advanced players, for coaches that may have inherited an older team but may not have had a lot of playing or coaching experience. So that's coming up as well. So obviously the reason we have done this is so that coaches become better at coaching. So it's a website that's packed with activities, but it also explains why and when to use certain activities. Because a good coach doesn't regurgitate drills, because drills promotes an absence of thinking, and soccer is a game that requires a lot of intelligence. So we try to teach coaches to create an environment that fosters creativity and thinking and having to figure things out, because you don't want kids at a certain age to be looking over on the sidelines because they can't figure out what's going on in the field, because the game happens so quickly and the cues are numerous, and experience is the only thing that teaches them that. So the product really comes up with activities, varied activities that help trigger certain trends of thought and manipulates the soccer behavior of the player. Because if the kid figures it out on his or her own, then it's there for life. If they rely on you prompting their behavior from the sideline all the time, they never become any better. They just rely on you telling them what to do. It's just like a parent and a kid. You'd hope that if you raise a kid properly, when they leave the home and they go to college and they become citizens and hopefully they're productive, they don't need you supervising everything they do all the time. You hope that they'll obey the law and they'll be good to other people. It's very similar. So you create an environment that literally manipulates their behavior. But you have to be educated as a coach to know what type of environment to create so that you get the desired behavior out of the players. And that in itself requires a little bit of education on your part as a coach. So that's what the product really is designed to do, make you a better coach, not provide you with a bunch of drills that mean nothing to you and maybe inappropriate to the level, age, or ability of the child or kids that you're working with. Excellent.
Soccer is the metaphor for life.
For me it is.
Yes.
So, I mean...
So any closing comments?
I think what people don't get about soccer, and not just soccer, any sport that a kid participates in, is it teaches you how to lose. And people lose that. I always tell my players, and I coach a lot of kids, that you have to be humble and almost gracious in defeat, because it teaches you to accept the fact that someone else on the day may have been better. And it also teaches you to understand that sometimes you needed a little bit of luck and you just didn't have it. Because with any sport, you require that little bit of luck to be successful. And if you can understand the difference between what you have control of and what you do not, it makes for a much more enjoyable experience. Knowing the difference between, okay, I gave 100% and it wasn't good enough. Maybe I need to work a little bit harder. And understanding sometimes that the ball probably didn't just bounce your way today, and you didn't have the luck you needed today. And the good thing is, you know what, you always have tomorrow, and you have next weekend to make up for it. And you have this week to work on what you didn't do well this week. And I think that's what I love so much about it, that how good you become at soccer or anything you do is solely dependent on how much you put into it, the quality of your effort, and not just how often you do it, but how conscientious are you when you are at practice, how conscientious are you when you are coaching. Because at the end of the day, you get out of the game what you put into it, from both sides of the line, the coach on the outside and players on the inside.
Brilliant. I think that's just an amazing statement about soccer and life. Thank you so much. I appreciate your help here. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed it.
I loved it.